What's up, y'all? Okay. How we doing, fam? You know what? Hold up. I don't think. Let's see. I think I streamed today with the slower latency, so might have a little bit of a lag today. So for transparency purposes, I did take this Australian setup here. Here we go. What's up, Nary? What's good? All right, actually, let's go over here a little bit more. And let's set this up this way. Here we go. Cool. So yeah, I took this Australian setup. I was looking at this off the 1 hour, 4 hour over here. And then there's a chance that it could crack above here. Maybe that's going to be enough to let it play out. So my setup here with Australian, and I'll dive into indices right now and everything else here in a bit. But yeah, so basically you saw the massive sweep of liquidity here and then the sell-off. We end up creating, Jesus, as soon as I start speaking, especially if I run heavy in the morning, a little bit of a cough in the morning, but so we see the sweep, the drop, and then there's a kind of an order block right here that I was kind of banking on it, respecting this zone specifically. But I want to see, also guys, let me know how the stream is going, if it's choppy, if the quality is fine. I actually switched up a program so that it captures the video differently. So I think this should have it roll smoothly. Would be amazing. So yeah, this right here, I kind of set as my stop. Of course, it could go higher, but you know, this being already efficient and playing out, I think that was cool. Now, when I went for this idea here, the one thing that I did notice after the fact was the following. And it was not so much that this setup couldn't play out, but it was more of, and this is like, yep, right there, it's good. So it was actually looking at the price action in the other dollar pairs. So seeing, you know, euro have this sideways movement, and I think we just might just barely get away with this idea. Maybe by a few, here we go, maybe by a few pips, because euro is coming up to the zone that I've been waiting for a while. If you guys remember, sometime in April, had marked up two sell zones over here. One that was a sweep, a big push up before everything dropped. So if let's say, for example, dollar pairs were looking to reach this kind of zone before seeing a drop, then that just might be the case, and that can help overall the reversal with the dollar in general. So maybe that's going to be enough to make the move. With that being said, we also saw GBP USD clearing this trendline liquidity, clearing some of these equal highs. So we just might see an extra push above for this idea in particular with the Australian. So we'll see. I think that if I had my stop, and I'm not willing to open up my stop a bit more with this idea right now, because that would kind of crack me above what I want risk-wise with this specific account, considering I have a lot of them here running at the same time. So actually, hold on. This should be right there. One tick higher. But considering all that, this would kind of add an extra 6 pips, which would throw off the equity curve per trade that I really want right now. So I'm cool with this. Whatever happens, happens. I'm at peace with this decision. But I talked about this one, so I wanted you guys to be able to see it and we have to be able to accept our losses as much as we gas up the wins and we get all lit on these things. Got to be able to lose responsibly as well. So we'll see how this one goes. Just like 5 pips or so of wiggle room at this time, and that's cool. But let's look at indices, guys. Yesterday's session, if you want to learn significantly on how to really go about this market, how to I would say like a quote unquote masterclass for just live trading, trade management. Yesterday's session was definitely one of those. So we caught, before the session went live, I took Nasdaq buys, and then we caught a shakeout setup here, a sell-off here, traded it into liquidity, so caught another sell there, and then I actually ended up getting a secondary entry here to then catch it down to here for the end of day close. So overall ended up capturing about an 8R on the day. Technically it was more, but I undersized by accident on this one, but that's fine. And anyways, right now, so we saw quite a bit of, and thank you for the latte. Appreciate you. And so right now we just saw this massive pump that cleared out all of this as well. So it looks like with indices, time and time again, it kind of looks like we're building out for some sort of distribution. And even now, I'm liking another version of what we did yesterday. So take a look at this. Right now, what we're seeing is, and I'm going to go over Dow Jones, I'm going to go over Nasdaq, etc. But we're going to kick things off here with Dow, and with Dow over here, we have a massive pump up to here, but there's nothing here. Like there's no demand. It's as soon as it goes up, it comes right back down. So as we zoom in, we can see the market started to drop, pulled up again, started to drop. So to me, yes, you see a sweep of some of this London session liquidity here. So you had another round of liquidity. So equal lows for London session, but then this just comes back into Asian session range. And so I could understand why someone may want to buy something like this. So I can understand the buying range here. I am not going to buy Dow. Yo no estaría comprando aquí Dow Jones. And one, there's just not that much demand up here. But two, there's liquidity immediately underneath, like right there, Asian session. So there's a lot of proximity and liquidity. Oh, this is fire. Thank you. But what looks better, in my opinion, is Nasdaq for the buy. And I think I'm a pip away of getting stopped out also. B, by the way. Or no, 2. And here's just so you guys can see. Oh, my bad. So, but Nasdaq clears not just the London session lows, but Nasdaq ends up getting below Asian session, playing right into just previous New York session. So can we get a better opportunity trading with the trend here with Nasdaq? It gets above the 5-minute, not so much the highs so it clears yesterday's highs. So we still do lose demand over here, but it's a much better, and I am officially stopped out. Cool. So I took the loss on Australian dollar, just so you guys are in the loop. All right, so from here, that one we didn't take, I guess, necessarily live, but I did talk about it yesterday. And we have New York open in about 9 minutes. So I guess one thing that I can go over and we can make a decision on is is there an opportunity to short euro then? If we're looking at price action, euro USD here is very bullish, right? It's pushing very strongly. GU significantly as well. So we can see it clearing all this external liquidity, actually going back all the way. I mean, we got to go back weeks to these highs. Okay. There's there's a lot of liquidity that's already swept on the GBP USD side. And then on top of that, everything is just screaming at the time. So if euro shorts is something that interests you, going back to the zone, I'd have to go back all the way to here. So let me walk you through this. I'll go back to indices here in a second, but I want to make sure at least you guys have perspective. It's not like you have to trade this or anything, but just so you guys are kind of observing what I'm seeing here. So my setup was from over here. This goes back to Tuesday, April 22nd. We see the market sweep the highs, and then from here just absolutely melts away. So this kind of lures in buyers one last time, creates support, and then melts. So if you ever wanted to see a short out of a range like this, that's supposed to be a 4 hour, then, I mean, yeah, this is a zone. So I don't think it's a terrible trade by any means. But of course, the markets right now are very, very bullish. So trade at your own discretion. Anyways, with that being said, excuse me. With that being said, oh, one thing though that there is a difference here is if you're gonna look at futures, it's gonna look a little different. So before I go ahead and move back over to indices, why aren't you working? No ads. What does that mean? That's strange. Okay. Okay, so here's something that I wanted to show you guys. All right, here we go. So, all right, here we go. Euro futures. And then we can zoom in here. All right, now when you look at it this way, and you're starting to see it lose momentum, right? So this has to do with the zone over here. Hold on, everything is, I'm getting a little laggy here. 1 second, guys. I need to close this out. There we go. All right, perfect. So when you're looking at there's a lot going on over here. 1 second, folks. All right. So let's say, for example, we go back over to this zone. And we wanted to see that same area with futures, right? You see it push higher and then drop. But you want to make sure that the contracts are in the right place. So when you're looking at something like this, it's like, all right, this is the current contract. And I'm looking at Euro futures. So do we have a similar setup here like we did with, let's say, Euro USD in the past? So you can go over, check out price action. Let's just say we go to here and then see, do I have the same setup or not? And I see a little bit of a push here, and I think this is goes back to that exact date as we were looking at currencies, and that goes right there. So you take a look at this here. Now we can go 4 hour, stretch this out a little bit from April. And then as you see in futures here has it going a little bit higher still. So it would be playing out of this zone specifically. So in that area, then you're looking at, just a little bit more here. This would be a zone of about 25 pips or so. So then having this, let's say right over here, about a 25 pip area, that would set you up. So if you wanted to take a euro short in that range, then that's how you'd go about doing that. I think I'm going to take a swing at it coming up into that zone. And then let me dive into indices here in a second. All right. Now, going back to Nasdaq. Nasdaq gives us our setup here, and we have this movement in about roughly a minute. So we have this sweep of liquidity. That's one version. And from here, you see the market push down. Now, this is with the news event that we saw specifically at 7:30 Central Time. So you had that news. Clears the low, comes down into here. So this gets below London session, Asian session. We clearly see price rise into this zone. And then definitely loses quite a bit of that demand. It does give us a 3-minute higher high, 5-minute higher high, but we're not super bullish quite yet. If we look at Dow and we're comparing price action, Dow similarly is trading down here. The difference with Dow is that one, it still has left behind these Asian session lows, which I think it can target. And then this, we saw the clearance of all of yesterday's price action as well. So if I compare both of them, to me, it's looking like Nasdaq is still giving us higher lows either way, except that it has very little demand here. And because we're going with momentum, I think riding out Nasdaq makes a bit more sense. So now that we're seeing New York open, let's go ahead and split screen this. Let's see if we can get some type of opportunity. So I kind of see two different options here. I see the potential shakeout with Dow for the shorts, but I also see buying potential on Nasdaq. Entonces veo el potencial de ventas por aquí arriba con Dow y veo la posibilidad de compras con Nasdaq. So I'm curious to see which one of these kind of happens first. Here we go. Okay. And the fact that we're seeing different type of price action right now between both of these is really curious. So we're seeing Dow definitely much more aggressive to the downside. And what I think could happen is I think we might actually see Dow maybe sweep this liquidity. And I wonder if that's going to play NQ into this zone. If that's the case, then this might give us our setup for the buy on NQ. So I'm open to buys kind of below this zone right there. like right in this range. We've seen support here below before. So right in this zone, basically anywhere in here, I think we could see it. I want to see, excuse me, I want to see Dow clear that liquidity though. I think that really sets us up. Like that would give us the 10 out of 10 setup for sure if we go about it that way. So let's see if we get another push down. Got the sirens going just to up the intensity. Why not? Okay, so I'm here getting my account set up. And so I'm looking at an entry basically like right around here. You know, like, let's see. I'm thinking I'm kind of vibing with this right there. 21,732-ish. So 21,732.5. The only thing now, though, which is making a big difference is look at how the market, and here is, this is actually the move right there. Look at how this is already reacting. This is playing out of here so well. Look at that. Mitigation already. That was a nice move. So right now, I think if we see Dow pull back even more and get below this low, that might push us, push Nasdaq back in down into here, and maybe we get just a different entry model in general. But yeah, this is already technically mitigating. So ideally, the entry was right out of here, right out of this post. Kind of like we got a secondary pump right there at that 40-minute 49 right there. So I'm curious to see if we end up seeing Dow clear these lows and kind of what that does to NQ over here. But as of now, technically, I would say we have already mitigating. We saw the exchange of this sell-off here, 50-point drop, and then we see the market give us a 50-point pop. So I think before this rips, there's a good shot that we see Dow Jones get below this liquidity first. Sweep below all of this. And then with that being said, I'm actually still intrigued into a buy because we're seeing such a divergence. Like Dow is trading so much lower. So I am still willing to take a shot at this, but I want to see where we're at with Dow if it clears these lows first. And if we get back down to these levels, yeah, I'm open to it. Let's see where we get to. And then real quick, Euro is getting closer as well. But let's see. Now, remember for today we are also seeing, we already had our news event here. So we already had USD, and then the press conference for Euro obviously made a difference just all across the board. All right, we're getting closer to Dow sweeping liquidity, which could play back into this range over here. Meanwhile, at the same time, what that does for Nasdaq is just kind of keeping this here. This is now we're seeing a squeeze. So the market's been squeezing here for about 40 minutes, just moving sideways. Guys, in the chat, let me know what happens after a squeeze in the market. We tend to see a significant movement. So right now, if anything, it kind of looks like, did we mitigate this zone here and rebalance, or did we close out this sell here? So zooming out a little. Playing into this range. The market's moving along very efficiently with Nasdaq. We're starting to see a continuation again, despite Dow pushing down, pushing bearish. And so Dow is very interesting because this may end up creating a either a clearance of liquidity right here, and we're about to see that. And if it holds, if we see that hold it down and stay below, then this might create a distribution opportunity. Or, and what I think is more likely at the moment, is that we clear liquidity and it ends up becoming a reaccumulation where it just briefly trades below to activate sell stops, to liquidate buyers, and then make a move. So yeah, at the moment, I still think we will probably see Nasdaq make one more push below these lows, get kind of back into this news event price action right over here, and then make a move. So let's see what Dow clearing liquidity. So that we have the liquidity capture. Once there's a liquidity capture, then there is the opportunity for a reversal. And because we're seeing that divergence in the market here, it definitely makes a significant difference. So let's see. So then the zones for buys become somewhere in here. All right. All right. Now, if we don't break below this and Nasdaq is, all the way here. So you see how that's happening right now? Perfect. This to me is now our time to shine. All right. So I opened up my positions here. And I think we are in here now. All right, trying to see some movement.
Order failed.
Let's see. Oh, no. I think I only opened them on... That's unfortunate. Looks like it only opened across one account. The question is, why? That sucks. One second, folks. Copy trader Tings here. So I'm in a buy with Nasdaq. And then the copy trader wasn't open. That fucking sucks. I'm not going to lie. Because we are up significantly here. Why is that? Damn. That's a bummer. Okay, so let me pull this up because I realized what happened here. Yep, I didn't have the copy trader on because I reset this right before the stream. All right, so I'm up right now on the setup, and it actually ended up putting me in higher than I wanted it to, which is actually kind of annoying. So I'm gonna put my sell stop right here to protect the entry. And that should actually be 4. So here we go. And look at that. We're seeing it. Did anyone take this trade? By any chance? Bueller. All right, so we're seeing it now play out this way. And then because of this, I'm going to put that right there for now. And like now let's manage this, right? So we're in a buy. We see it playing out right now. It's coming back into this zone. So the question becomes, are we still bullish overall? Clearly, we have very little demand over here. So I do feel good with that. With this specific trade, the demand looks solid. At the moment, if we look at Dow as well, we see that Dow cleared liquidity. It's coming back up, kind of retesting a little bit. So let's see if we at least come back to New York Open with Dow. That would be pretty conservative. And then can this continue to rally? So for all we know, Dow may want to continue bearish and just continue to drop. That's definitely a possibility. But what we saw was Nasdaq's reaction, which was very aggressive here. Very, very aggressive. So that kind of the lack of demand at these levels gives us a pretty good sign that we can continue to move forward here. So I feel good about what we have going on with this setup. Let's see it ride. Look at how Dow is back at those lows and NQ. Nasdaq is still trading over here. Solid. Yeah, I think this at least is giving me more confirmation for the setup for sure. So my target now is going to be to let this ride. Let this one ride. See if we get above. I want to see where Dow gets, if we can get back over to here. And then I also think we can get above this New York Open. I think there's typical stops go above New York Open here. So the market targeting this zone kind of makes a lot of sense. And then considering we've been pretty bullish, I think we'll see this kind of play out pretty smooth. So I want to play into the drop here with Dow, and then I think we can also see simultaneously us get above where we basically, I would consider this liquidity over here. Okay, so market coming back. So we're seeing a drop here. Maybe it wasn't enough. All right, maybe it wasn't enough. Maybe it is. So right now, just going to let it ride. I already have my stop in place. If so, minimal stop on this particular setup. Not a big deal. We already saw the liquidity. We already saw the mitigation. There's no reason to continue to, for example, like force more trades with this. Like no reason to tackle this on again. Let it be. So perfect. In this example, I got a reduced stop after being up a bit. Some of you maybe went break even. Honestly, had this triggered me in exactly where I wanted to get in, it would have been a risk-free trade. So I think some of you might have just been risk-free. But for me, it was worth a shot, for sure. And in this example today, the nice thing is that, ironically, it not triggering all of my accounts and just one of them, I guess ended up popping out, which is fine. So, okay, now what do we have? This changes the dynamic of this setup completely, because now, check it out. Now what we see is we're basically looking at full-blown distribution. As long as things stay like this, now we're setting up for a nice sell-off. This is a 15-minute sweep of liquidity and have the possibility to get a sell over here in the future. Oh, let me check the stream real quick. 1.5. Didn't get tapped in. That's fine. There's two. Yeah, there's two setups for Euro for sure. Missed for 2 pips. I moved to break even. Cool, perfect. And that's trade management. You got to be able to manage it like that. 30-second break even now. Nice, 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 nice. Cool. So I'm not going to buy Dow. Dow is definitely way more bearish, so I'm not looking to buy Dow Jones. No estoy buscando compras aquí con Dow ni nada. What I want to see now is, are we going to get the demand? So are we going to get the demand here? And if we can stay here, if the market can confirm these lows actually genuinely stay bearish, then I'm liking sells, back over in this range and seeing things go over here. So this would be fantastic. So all right, let's check out what's the alert here with NQ. NQ finally pushing back into this range. So this is finally getting into the zone where are we going to see, because this was a big sell-off from yesterday. Price wanted to clear. Come on. Price wanted to clear Wednesday's New York session setups. I think it could go lower. And then kind of, here's where you see that push down and then the rally. This is where we get to, you see NQ get over here. Borderline liquidity right over here, but it just fills the imbalance and then immediately rips. So what we're seeing with Nasdaq is a play out of this zone. Now, I wouldn't take a buy way up here anyways. I'm not interested in any of that. So it just clearing all of that, playing into the news event. This was that 907. Remember yesterday we had that big spike down? This is the spike down that that triggered our take profit on Dow. So for this setup here, particularly, it just tagged that zone and then is starting to see the movement. So it looks like as even though we got the mitigation on Nasdaq here and it put us into profit, market had needed or wanted to target that news event. The money that was positioned right over here as well. So, which is totally fine. I wouldn't have taken this trade up here. I would have taken this lower. I'm not interested in this type of risk reward. So this wouldn't have really mattered to me. Had we gotten lower, then that's a different story. But so there's really no FOMO. There's no, oh no, what could have been, so none of that is really on my mind with this at all, which is totally fine. So we already got the rejection here. And then we already are getting the mitigation here. This is now going to change the dynamics for Dow because I can guarantee Dow right now, and when I switch back to it, is it going to give us the confirmations we want for the short? Let's see. So Dow lost some momentum. Now we need to understand, is it going to hold this? Is it going to push lower? Is it going to continue to trade here? So what are we seeing? Dow Jones potentially giving us distribution. There's the signs of distribution. Doesn't mean it is distribution. Just like here, signs of it. Whereas Nasdaq, signs of reaccumulation. Okay. Once again, do you think that since it swept and didn't hold above 1 hour highs, it's sold? Mike, when you buy with market, it depends if I have time it just depends on the time. So now let's look at this. We saw NQ sweep liquidity, like all liquidity from London, Asian, and playing into the lows, yesterday's lows. So we're seeing that. If you want to even zoom in, we can do that. Let's go just take a little magnifying glass into this price action over here. Lose the battle to win the war. Absolutely, absolutely. That brings us to here. This is where we get the sell-off. And then right now, go to the present. So remember this. This was yesterday, 9:07 Central Time. We play right into here. So now some of you are asking yourself, is this a shakeout? Should we take a buy position here? What do you guys think? Should you take a buy position here? Looking at Nasdaq, how quickly it comes back down, comes back up. We have very minimal demand at these levels once again and again and again. So I don't think it's a terrible buy position now that we've cleared all these lows. And since we're seeing Dow trading in this imbalance, trading in this order block, I don't think Nasdaq buys are terrible. I think they're decent trades right now. So the buy here, totally understand them. You'd have to move really quick, and I'm not necessarily sure you're going to get that type of speed right now to be able to make that quick decision making. And if not, and you're not going to get the position that you want, that makes sense with your risk reward, then I would say don't force it. So for example, since I have to set up my copy trader for all of my Apex accounts right now, real time, because for whatever reason they disconnected, unless we get another drop kind of back down into here, I kind of won't really be able to take any positions there. So it is what it is. So let's see here. For example, let's see. Let me double check here. What should this look like? Okay. So, yeah, I mean, ideally would have been nice to have an entry. This would be the sweep of all liquidity, external liquidity, break and retest in here. This was the entry. If some of you were just like ready to strike, then cool, you may have it. What I'm gonna do is see if I can get, maybe it just triggers me into a limit here, but if we just keep clearing this, then there's nothing really I can do. So I'd like a shot at this at like right around here. So let's see. So like right there, could set up a nice little buy limit, but I'm not gonna do that. And then this way you guys can kind of see the idea here.
Order submitted.
Okay. So this is with the expectation that the market could, here we go, play out of here. This is the shakeout, right? The break of liquidity, external liquidity, lures in sellers, and then now seeing this take out liquidity, seeing it rip. This is basically what I'm looking for here. And then did this copy across the board is the question.
Filled. Order submitted. Order.
And it looks like it has. Okay. Perfect. Fantastic. Okay,
Order
so
submitted.
from here, just letting it ride. Nothing else I can do but let this thing go. And then my stops are here. It's pretty tight. Not a big deal. And a trade like this where the stop is roughly a little under 40 points, you can kind of understand the risk to reward. So from here, targeting liquidity over here could put us back up into like a 3R. If it plays out, obviously. And then the difference here we're looking at is, does Dow here Dow, and the reason why I like the setup is because Dow at the moment is playing exactly into these levels that could mitigate from over here. So this can actually react now from Tuesday's sell-off. We could see Dow bounce out of this zone and also see NQ then rally some more. So that's kind of what I'm seeing right now. So let me show you guys here. So, okay, here we go. So now we saw Dow Jones at this level. Here's where we can see Dow Jones actually sell or mitigate. So close the sell, bounce to then pull back. So it's in a key level where it could do that simultaneously. So at the same time, we are getting Nasdaq that can play out of this level as well. Now that it's liquidated these positions, if you want to be, give yourself a bit more space, let's say let the trade breathe, quote unquote, give yourself more margin for error, then obviously you can have your stops open more, which is never a bad idea by any means. You just have to give your risk reward, you're kind of giving back a little bit on the risk reward, but you give yourself more margin of error, which is totally fine. So right now, for example, look how we're starting to see a rejection. Look how we get very little demand over here. So we're starting to get signs that this could go in our favor. And again, it's not just because NQ, it's also because of Dow. Dow Jones is giving us signs that the market is getting efficient over there. It's closing down this, I forgot what the news event was over here, but now it's able to reject here. So this here would be, let's say, a 85-point move. So say in the market, just push at least 85 points would be my minimal expectation here. Even just seeing this thing completely rebalance to the order block or back into here also would make a lot of sense. And then now looking at NAS here, we're starting to get more confirmations, more signs that this is going in our favor. Over here, right now we're definitely in profit. Now this is NQ, right? I'm trading MNQ right now. Just throw a little contract at it. And then, that multiplied by like 20 accounts or so, obviously adds up. So here, and looks like I under leveraged significantly, but whatever, that's not really a big deal. Right now we're up this is up 15 points for like $30. My stop was how much here? 38. So throwing another contract. I'm okay with this. So yeah, I mean, let's see where this is going to take us. Honestly, if the movement that we're getting with Dow is going to be strong, then you can just keep pushing everything. And what we might get is a very, like, for example, let me switch it up here. All right, let me just pull up YM. Getting a little bit of a bounce so far. Slight pullbacks with Dow, which is fun. I think we can still get more. I'd say we haven't quite gotten the full-blown mitigation here quite yet. So I think we have more to give. And so if Dow gives us, more bullish movement here, rebalances better, then I think it's only going to be better and better going into this range. So we shall see. Haven't quite moved my stop or anything either. I don't necessarily feel like we have enough room. If we break our highs over here, so if we can kind of break above this, crack above these highs and trade up here, then I feel more comfortable tightening up my stop or going my stop to break even. So kind of just going to let it be for the time being. And then, my guys, I know I've been really dialed in here, so I've totally ignored you guys. Appreciate you guys for liking the channel, liking the what we're doing here, the subscription. You guys subscribing, being super involved in the chat, super chat, all that good stuff. Yeah. What's my risk since you're 20 accounts? My risk right now is so I think about, okay, how much drawdown is available? So how much drawdown do I have in the account? And I like to have like a 15R space of wiggle room or more. So I'm risking like a very small amount. Like, I don't even know percent. I don't actually remember what percentage what it is, but it's low. It's super low. I'm risking like, let's see. Like a 0.25%, a little bit under. Yeah. I do both. I have Top Step and I have Apex. I have both. I'm in both right now. I triggered on Dow buy. Cool. What's up, Carlos, Jonathan, Michael? I see you guys in here. DeAndre, Josue, what's good? In Nas, normal risk, 1.5R. All right, good to see you guys. Let's go. Okay, so YM now gave us the indication that it's starting to... Hold on. Looks like my chart's frozen. Do you want to update, or are we not going to be doing that today? Sir? Would you like to function properly? That would be quite lovely. All right, so while that guy gets his life together, all right, here we go. So this was showing us that now Dow has successfully made its move. So we saw a nice push to the upside here with Dow. So that's kind of like the minimum that I expected. Seeing the way Dow Jones moved here. This may be one of the cases where we saw a mass rebalance, liquidity clearance, and then this just pulls right back up. So that's definitely an example, definitely a possibility right now. Now, of course, if we're going into the nitty-gritty, small time frames, it's been very bearish since we had this big move over here. So there's still a chance that this wants to just go and work its way down. And so the reason that I think about these things is that I want to go and consider my trades and go, okay, so now that we got a nice bump, now that we saw that exchange from sellers to buyers, what can I do with my current trade? So like, for example, with this Nasdaq trade, should I, now that we saw an exchange of money, is there a motive now to then tighten up my stop since we already saw money come in? So in these examples, this is where I'm okay with tightening up my stop a little bit, because now we've seen Dow Jones, that money exchange. We've seen that swap from sellers to buyers. So at this point, does the market is there any more rebalancing or mitigation that is needed per se? Not really. So I'm okay with just kind of allowing this to trade within the space that it has. If we were to keep this, then, do you have more space for like a quick, maybe it wicks down into here? Sure. But then at that point, are you willing to give that up for a little bit more wiggle room? So with the new information that you have, is this presenting anything? And this is still not really refreshing, but is this giving you any more new insight? Do you have more confidence in this trade now? Is there still a good chance that, this is going to work out? Or if we look at, let's see here. If we look at Dow and we're seeing, Dow just pumped and then it's going to come right back down, is it going to be worth it? So here's where you kind of have to give yourself some perspective and think, would I be okay with a little bit more wiggle room over here just to see this one play out? Or would I rather, let's say, cut my risk a bit, and then if it stops me out at reduced risk, it's because the trade is no longer going to be valid anyways? Because that's why you would move your stop. You're either moving your stop to protect your capital, one, or because the trade now has given us signs that it may not do what it needs to do anymore. So this is where you have to make a decision on what is more important to you. The potential for success because the trade is still valid and you need that kind of space to let it trade properly, or I'm just going to preserve my money because I'm just focused on preserving my money. So I think it's more of making an understanding of the setup and the opportunity in general here. I'm looking at Dow and kind of the 1 minute time frame, and looks like it wanted to kind of fill an imbalance and then play out again. So, giving it a little bit of space is fine for me. And then right now, for example, now that I'm seeing Dow do this, NQ do this, we came into this level. For me now, okay, cool. This is a sign that there was a little rebalance still required. If it comes back down now, then fine. Just take me out, take a small loss, move on. Or this thing rips, good times, and we continue. So now we see. I'm just going to close this out because this is just not doing anything. There we go. Okay. All right. So while indices do indices things, let me pull up some other charts. And we can look at let's look at some majors, look at some metals. Let's see here. Looks like everything froze for me. Oh, there we go. And we're back. Okay, cool. So funny enough, going back to that Australian trade from earlier, looks like it needed all of the space it could get. It poked right up above here, and then now we're kind of seeing that move down. And to piggyback off of that, oh, I need to delete that. Here we go. Let's look at Euro. Euro has actually, and we were looking at Euro futures. So we were looking at here, 6E.
Order canceled.
Looks like it just tapped that zone. Actually, I think it was just short of it. And then saw the rejection. Okay. Let's see. Do we have any buy setups or anything like that with the majors? At the moment, let's see if we can kind of run with momentum. We're seeing Australian drop significantly. Not really too many buy setups here. Let's see here. I kind of see the sell-off here with Australian. And then it continue. Okay, not bad. Seeing NZD basically sideways. Nothing that interests me there really. Euro, similarly, just moving on up. There, we do see a little bit of, with the news event, how it goes up, comes back down. So just structure, not really like liquidity sweep, imbalance. It's just mostly structure. And then huge imbalance left behind. Okay, so nothing really crazy there. Too interesting. Same thing here with GBP USD. We do see a bigger sell-off, fills this imbalance, then the continuation. Just similar to Euro. So out of these right now, Euro seems to be kind of the most bullish, but I wouldn't necessarily say we have like textbook setups or anything. From here, if we zoom out some more, USD CAD just working its way down. Fantastic. Nothing in particular here with USD CHF outside of like this huge spike up that we could get into later on. And then we had some yen action here. So yesterday's yen, or yeah, a couple days back, we go on yen. Good plays over here. And then we had some movement, some imbalance being filled, some continuations. Nothing crazy here with the yen. Crypto still working its way down. Very ETH Sol bearish. Bitcoin played right out of this area, cleared out liquidity, shorted right basically off of 106. Tanking. Absolutely tanking. And then, but let's talk metals. Right? Let's talk metals over here. With metals, what are we looking like? So metals right now, some nice pullbacks. Getting right into these imbalances. So played right out of this. Anyone take this? I can see some of you guys taking this one. Let's see. Did this freeze or is this on point? I think I gotta close a few things here. Yeah. And Q's definitely frozen on this one. All right, so back we're going. Back and forth and back and forth. So I'd say that at the moment, we didn't really see the aggressive kind of push out of this zone that I would have wanted to see. That would have proved like, oh, we have very little, like there is very little demand down here, but it's squeezing like this. It's kind of giving me signs that we might even go lower. So we'll kind of see what happens here. If we look at Dow Jones, for example, with Dow's also squeezing, moving, back and forth on smaller time frames. So sometimes these squeezes, and you guys know when the market squeezes like this, either it just rips in one direction or it pulls back down and then rips in another. And so sometimes it does need a little bit of space. The question is it going to go below this again and then make the move? Do we want to give the market that type of breathing room to do it? Because right now, the allotted risk overall is this, right? This was the already predetermined risk, was this right there. This was the risk. Now, does the market need to clear lows again in order for it to finally go? So, considering we're squeezing so much, worst case, -1R. Best case, we get, the explosive movement. So I'm at peace with allowing it just a couple extra points, these 10 extra points over here, in case it needs it to be able to then, let's say, clear these lows. So then it gives us all of this. I'll be fine with that. But what we don't do is we never break beyond our initial risk. Because then now this trade is worth more than other trades, and that's what you don't want to happen. So we might be seeing that, a lot of sideways movement. I'm sure within the next, I guess I can't say for sure, but I think we should be seeing some type of explosive movement here within the hour, maybe by that 9:30 marker, and then seeing a bit more volatility. If you look at Dow also has built up a lot of liquidity up in this range as well. So, yeah, we'll just let this do its thing. With gold, like I was mentioning, this isn't necessarily like a trade I would take or anything like that, like the sweep the low. There's just an imbalance here that back into London session and that it's playing out of, so which is cool. It's not an entry model for me, but it's just interesting to observe. We could zoom in a little more here. Kind of have, yeah, there you go. So this is where you can kind of see it a little better, where you have the imbalance and then the continuation. I think we're starting to see Nasdaq start to break out a little bit more. It did briefly, getting a little bit of a push here. Let's see if we get above this range and can actually sustain something, or if we're just constantly going to. Because right now, guys, during New York session, seeing this type of sideways movement, especially after New York Open, it's been almost an hour. It's been 45 minutes of just this. So, to be honest, this might actually end up being a conservative exit, because not only are we seeing that 45-minute zone, but we're also squeezing within this zone. We're also, for the most part, getting sideways movement that goes back to Tuesday's price action. So about 48 hours worth of sideways movement. this could lead to maybe even another extension completely. So right now, good signs for the setup. We might be seeing this breakthrough here shortly. We saw the push to here, it cracked just below, comes back up, fills this, microscopic imbalance, and then the market pushing up again. For the most conservative, let's say, for example, your entry would have been somewhere like over here. Maybe your stop maybe can go into here, especially if we get this up here. And then going over and looking at Dow. Dow is still slowly but surely climbing back up again. And it's got some ways to go until it comes back to like New York Open and to previous levels of support. So if I show you guys here, looks like that was some sort of news event. Something just happened. Oh, this thing just pumped. Nice. So this is pumping here now. Getting some good movement. Excuse me. Now we're seeing a trade over here. The most curious thing is going to be, can we maintain these levels? All right, can we maintain this price action over here? This is what I have to see. Because if we can hold this, then we can easily look. Now we see how we're breaking out. In my opinion, there's no reason to continue to have a huge stop. Now keep it tight. If you want to go break even, feel free. What was this? So decent move here with gold. But let me show you guys kind of what I'm considering for Dow Jones. And then this is what helps with overall NQ as well. So here, look at now how we're getting to that, where we kind of had previous levels of support before. So beautiful, plays right into here, goes back. So for those of you that bought Dow over here, it's looking solid, right? Well above 100 plus points, about 130. And then I know, those of you that took NQ, you're looking at about maybe like 40, give or take. Stop, if you took an entry a little bit lower, then, obviously the stop was tighter. So either anywhere from like 20 to 30 point stop, and then it's running now 50. So you should be seeing, generally 2R plus. Here we go. Starting to get some momentum. All right, let's manage this one over here. Let's manage the top step one. And I got to manage the personal one. All right, so this is looking decent. All right, so now seeing this type of movement, we're maintaining structure pretty decently here. I'm definitely highly under leveraged here, but whatever. I guess I did have a chance to add when I was over here, but that's not a big deal. I'd rather be under leveraged than over leveraged. And then from this point of view, we can now kind of let this ride. And what I want to show you guys is look at Dow. So things are going to get interesting here for sure. And this is where NQ can really accelerate its positioning and its momentum when we start to see just like this drop down and it kind of just staggered on the way down. If it doesn't just basically reject the ceiling here, which I don't know if it will, this really is what takes the setup. Because right now, let's say anyone that was selling throughout this here, usually they like to use New York Open highs or even the daily as the stop. So this is why I think we can see a pretty accelerated process. And go back and look, what did I tell you guys about the squeeze? The longer we're squeezing, the bigger the move's going to be. So, yeah. How did you guys trade through the chop here? How uncomfortable was it for you? How was the managing? Guys, and if you want just more breakdown, more analysis, then let me know. I don't like the Dow sell, no. $60 missed by a couple ticks, yeah. Do you do 0.25% of total drawdown or of the account size? I like to give myself like about 15R of the drawdown. So, for example, if your drawdown is 4,500, then I'll trade like $300 risk. For example, when I'm trading a funded, like it's already funded, that's different. If I'm trading my own money, that's a different rule. But with funded, it's I'm thinking more accumulation of capital. I'm thinking longevity of the account. With the challenge, I'll trade a bit more risky because one, how much capital, like how much does it mean to me to lose $50, $150 on a challenge, and at what frequency, and then at what speed? If you're in a financial situation where like you really have to take those $50, $100, $150 seriously, and it's better for you to take, maybe it'll take you a couple weeks, a month, a couple months to pass it, then you have to trade in what makes sense for who you are in your situation. At this point, I'm okay with risking a bit more, giving myself 7 to 10 ARB to, do a challenge if I'm going to do, a challenge. Right now I need to expand to different ones at this point, but let's see here. Give me a second, guys. So, okay, this is looking smooth. Market's moving nicely here. One sec, guys. So to give you guys some perspective, if you use copy traders, sometimes your copy trader is, if you notice that it's not like up to date. So for example, right now, this is up like 70 points. But on my Ninja Trader over here, it says I am like basically at break even. Why? Because it's lagging. Like something's up with this thing. So I have to disconnect it and then reconnect it. And then it'll kind of just get back on pace. So yeah, trust me, streaming is cool, but there's a lot you got to manage at the same time. So definitely got to be ready for that. This thing is bugging out. Yes. All right, guys, what about any questions you guys have on just the overall operations of trading, just charts in general, entries, exits? Let me know. Whoa. Oh, okay. So Ninja Trader just completely closed. Cool. Okay, that's good there. All right, let me check out the chat. That's good, chat. Need that dual PC setup. Yeah. Yeah, right now I'm basically looking at, I haven't really decided if it's going to be PC, if I'm going to get the Mac Studio. Yeah, I'm kind of looking into what I'm going to do there. Because the question is, do I need a Apple ecosystem? That's one decision. If not, then, build the whole PC, do whatever. So those are the burning questions right now. Meanwhile, this thing is melting here, so dropping right back down. So is it going to hold this structure? Is this here going to rebalance and turn into another, what's it called? Basically, eventually become a wick on another time frame. So, but this is dropping significantly. So will it trade out of here or not is the question. Because right now what we're seeing is that basically I'm sure Dow made a huge drop, and then off of that resistance, support that turned into resistance, and that's luring in sellers. So this is that next push, whether it's going to lure out sellers or not. So for me, I have this here set up. Now the big issue, and this is really annoying right now, is that this Ninja Trader is loading up, and the bot that copies everything over, this needs to be on in order to close all of these setups. So technically right now, I believe if this were to get stopped, it wouldn't actually stop everything out. It would only stop out this one account. So this needs to move faster just in case. So let me do this real quick, because I don't know if this is going to work out or not. But there is a fail safe, which is you can open up your like trade of 8 and then just flatten everything straight from there. What copy trader can you use on Apex? There's one called Replicanto. I know there's a lot of them, but so hold on, guys. Let me pull up my account, because this thing is doing all of this is actually kind of crazy. So what I'm gonna do, guys, is I'm gonna cut the stream there so that I can actually get everything all set in stone and not have to deal with this. But guys, make sure you're joining the community. Make sure you're locked in there. The link is pinned at the top. Tomorrow we'll be live for NFP. So I'll be live earlier than usual. So we'll go ahead and tackle on NFP together. But I appreciate all of you for being on here, liking the channel, the stream, and sharing this with your people. Sharing this is totally all for free. So see you guys on the next one. And then if you hit exit, if you had some wins, let us know. But yeah, peace out.